to shed a little bit of light on the idea of attachment. And this is something I have come up against a lot on my journey, and I keep coming up against at times, not as much as I used to, which I'm really grateful for, and which I can see has been due to my actions and due to being on this path. But this idea of attachment is not just one that I struggled with, it's also one that I struggled to understand for a long time. And in my last video I spoke about surrender and how it's such a big part, an important part of this awakening process. And that got me thinking about attachment. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with. And there are so many things that we become attached to without realizing it. So we become attached to our thoughts. We become attached to emotions. We become attached to different physiological issues and challenges and ailments. We can become attached to people and objects around us and environments and situations. And we can become attached to stories of how we want things to be, or how things don't look as they don't look the way that we want them to. Or we can also become attached to a lack of something. So we can become attached to the story that we are not good at relationships, or that we are not worthy or deserving of having nice things, whether it's a house or a car or, food in the cupboard, whatever it is. We become attached to either the wanting of the thing itself, or we become attached to the idea of this thing. And the way that I'm kind of seeing it now is attachment is about holding on. So it's this idea of not being able to let go, which to me seems like different sides of the same coin to surrender. So on the one side, we have surrender, and on the other side we have attachment. And we can't do both at the same time. So attachment is holding on to something, an idea, a story, an object, a person, a place, an identity. We can become attached to our wounding, our traumas as an identity, and that can stop us from making progress on this path. But as we move towards surrender, and as we allow ourselves to surrender, to trust the universe and that it has this plan for us, and that it supports us in our journey and supports us in achieving the things that we want when we are in the awake space. But so this idea of surrender and attachment being opposite sides of the same thing looks like this. So if you're holding onto a rope, you can either hold tighter to stay where you are, or you can let go and see what happens. Holding on is the attachment. The rope is there, it'll do what it needs to do, but the tighter we hold on, the less we can move. The more we are stuck or glued to the same space, the same spot, the same thing. But the more we let go and allow the rope to do its job, the more we step into surrender. And the easier surrender becomes. And that's about letting go, about handing over control to the universe, knowing that it's got you, having faith. So we can either choose to hold on, or we can choose to let go, but we can't do both at the same time. It's impossible. We can't have attachments and surrender at the same time. And in order to awaken, we need to allow ourselves to loosen the grip, to let go of the attachments to our stories, to our ideas, to our identities, to what we think should or shouldn't happen. That doesn't mean that we can't have the things that we want. It doesn't mean we can't live in a world of objects, of luxuries, of having money. We don't have to go and sit in a cave and meditate for the rest of our lives. We can be in the world. We can be experiencing life as it is, with things around us, and having the use of things and allowing things to come into our experience. But we cannot hold on to them and keep them there. If they need to move on for whatever purpose, whether it's an object or a person or a job, whatever it is, we need to be in a space of enjoying it while it's there and then allowing it to move on when it's ready to do so. And that can be in terms of hoarding things in our houses. So many of us are so attached to objects in our houses because they are sentimental or they have some form of value which we're not ready to let go of. But that in itself is an attachment. And we can also become attached to outcomes, to these desires of certain outcomes in a situation, whether it's a person or a job or whatever it is. As a therapist, we can become attached to the outcomes for our clients. So we actually get in the way of the therapeutic process by desperately holding on to an outcome for our clients. We're there to serve our purpose and to play our part and to be this supportive role. But we cannot attach our identity or ourselves in any way to our clients' outcomes. And I've seen this happen so many times for myself as a therapist as well as for others. Even in terms of relationships, we want the person to be a certain way or to do things in a certain way. We become attached to a certain outcome. We need a relationship to look a certain way, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship or a work relationship. We want them to look a particular way, and that's the outcome that we are wanting and working towards. But that is the very thing that's standing in the way of us being able to be present and enjoy this moment with that person or with that object or in that situation. We stop ourselves from really being in the moment and surrendering to the beauty of what is by wanting it to be something else. So it's our attachments that are the very things that stop us or get in the way of us evolving and expanding. And they get in the way of us stepping into the awake space. So the more that you are on this awakening path, you start to notice that you have this choice between attachment and holding on to what you knew, to past experiences, to conditioning, to patterns, to beliefs, to all of these things, the way we've lived our lives up till now, as well as to people and places and everything else. Or we can choose to surrender, to trust, to have faith, to allow, and to accept that things are the way they are because they need to be this way right now. And right now, as in this very moment, things could look very different in the next moment. They could look more along the lines of how I would like them to be. The more I open up, the more I allow space for the things that I would like, the experiences I would like to be having, to step into my reality. The more that I surrender, the more that I do open, and I become more open, and more can step into my world, into my reality, into the truth of reality. And the more that I hold on, the more that I attach, the more I close myself off from the very things that I want. Whether it's a conversation with a person, a relationship, a certain amount of money coming in. You know, we can stop the flow of money because we're attached to either an idea of lack of money, or the way that we earn money might not be a comfortable one for us, and we can close off that flow. So the more that we open up in every area of ourselves and our reality, the more we allow for new things to step in and new experiences to come along. And the more we are in that flow, the more enjoyable life becomes. Because the more we step into what's unknown, which from the ego perspective is a scary place. It likes to know what's happening, it likes to know what's going on. But from the perspective of awakening, opening up and allowing and going with the flow becomes far more comfortable within the space of the unknown. And we become far more comfortable with allowing things to flow and seeing what happens. It becomes an experiencing, because we are an experiencing from our true self. And it becomes about allowing things to unfold and seeing the beauty in that, and seeing the love and the connection and the joy, and seeing the divinity and the oneness of everything as we evolve and expand more and more. So it really becomes a beautiful open space of surrender, allowing, and knowing that the universe is an experiencing. You are an experiencing of everything that's happening. If we let go, the fear is that nothing will replace whatever we've let go of. And that's simply not true. That's not how things work. So, going into the awakening space, we are allowing ourselves to be pointed in the direction of truth, and to see more of it, and to be in it, to experience the stillness and the peace and the quiet and the, I keep using this word beauty, but it really is. And so being in this flow and being in this space of surrender and allowing becomes more and more beautiful, and becomes more and more desirable. And then all those other smaller desires that we had, those material desires or earthly desires, fall away more and more. We just don't really need them so much, because the awake space is so full and rich with experience. And that's a place that I want to be in, and I would love to experience from. So this is the path that I'm on, and this is the journey that I love to share with people who are on the same path, or people who are wanting to step into this way of living and step onto this path. And so that's why I love having these conversations. And so I'd love to hear from you, and to hear what your experiences are and what your understandings are, and let's connect. So I'll talk to you again soon.